Hey, Megan.
Hey, Steph
Hey, Marah.
Hi,
Good
Mara.
evening. How are you, ladies?
Fabulous.
Doing good. How are you?
Great.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. Miss Megan, do you want to introduce Miss Marah Pierson?
Sure.
Tell us all the things.
Hey, everybody. We are here with Marah Pierson. She is an experienced instructor with training background in dressage, hunter jumpers, and horsemanship. Her passion and love for horses drove her to dedicate years of her life and education to learning everything about horse care, training, and teaching. She is a recent graduate of the University of Findlay with a double major in English Equestrian Studies and Business Management. She also partook in Pony Club, Intercollegiate Horse Show Association, the Michigan State University Farrier School, hands-on apprenticeships, and let's see here. Marah's skills for grooming, barn management were sharpened during her time as a head groom. Sorry, guys, I didn't grab my glasses. Actually, Stephanie's glasses.
Well, I think Marah understands because I see she's got some spectacles on as well. So,
I'm fighting the aging process, and it's not working at the moment. So yeah, because I'm going blind.
Why don't you punt it over to Marah and she can talk a little bit about herself and her background?
Well, I can see one more paragraph. Marah is the barn manager and assistant trainer at Peace of Mind Dressage and Peace of Mind Equestrian Academy, who we had Jackie on at our last live stream. So thank you so much for joining us. Maybe tell us a little bit how you got started in horses and why did you take the big jump into the horse world versus being a doctor or a lawyer?
Well, thank you for having me on. Super excited to be here. Yeah, I was your typical horse-loving little girl, and my wonderful mother realized that at some point and grew up in a single mom home, so didn't have a lot of financial needs, but she supported us in everything that we did, so she helped make that happen. My first horse that I fell in love with, her name was Rosie, and she helped show me that I loved the care of the horse, and I was very passionate about that. Moved on from there to go work at a couple of different barns that would have a middle school kid around to help with whatever little chores needed to get done. I would hop on any horse that was available, and then got connected with this barn back in northern Michigan, where I was there for about 12 years, 10 years, 12 years. And I worked with two great trainers. The first one got me into the English world because I had started just trail riding, going around Western Saddle. Didn't have a lot of riding lessons, but did the English riding afterwards. Got started there. And then I worked with my trainer back home, Susie White with White Winter Farms. She really got me into the correct form, correct position, focusing on the horse, making sure that I was balanced and working on that. She also gave me the opportunity to apprentice with her. So in high school and in middle school and through high school, I was homeschooled. And then later on did part-time at the high school where I was able to go do classes and then I'd go to the barn. And I worked with Susie, did a lot of riding with her. She had me help her with running shows, getting connected with that. Got to build networking with others in the area. And she really challenged me and really pushed me to continue to work hard, but also do it in a really good and strong way, taking care of the horses. I got connected with the United States Pony Club while I was working with Susie. And they have it, I've always described it as like going for your black belt in karate or taekwondo. And so you have your starting level, which is the D level, D1, and you have to get your horsemanship before you can pass your riding. So it's basically 2 tests that you can take at once. If you don't pass your horsemanship portion, you're not awarded your riding section, which also really drove the point home of the horse care is super important. So did that. I went through the C2 level. When I was the oldest at the barn, had been there the longest, and so also got to do a lot of teaching with the younger kids, both horsemanship and under saddle. I also helped work at the barn, would do feeding and chores, would be around when the vet came and around when our farrier came. Our farrier is an amazing character. He definitely had a personality that a few people could get along with him really well. And I happened to be one of those people, started talking to him and found out that there was farrier school, which looking back on it makes sense, but I had no idea that that was even a thing at the time. And I was finishing up my first year of college at community college. Because of COVID, I stayed home, didn't go right into the big university, and decided to take a semester off from college and go down to Michigan State University that has a 12-week course to do farrier school. I was in a cohort of 5 others, and we worked on, there's 3 different sections for the class. It was classwork, which was all the anatomy, movement of the horse, parts or tools and shoes, all that stuff. And then there was the forging section where we're in the workshop, we're making shoes, we're fitting them to the horse's feet or cadaver legs. And then we'd go out in the field and actually do the work. It was super intriguing to me because all going back to the horse care, learning how to see the horse's movement, what is actually happening in the horse's leg, how we can move it around and change things and help the horse, all those different things. So I never really wanted to go into the farrier business, but I wanted to have a good understanding and also be able to have knowledgeable conversations with our farriers. And it's nice because we've got like barefoot horses here, able to help trim up those horses, make sure that they're good, can pull shoes, all those things. So it's been very helpful. After farrier school, I was still at community college back home, living at home, and called up my farrier and was able to apprentice him for about a year. Would go around with him, got to see a lot of different horses across all different disciplines, from pasture pets to competitive horses in both English and Western, pleasure horses, standardbreds, thoroughbreds, draft horses, the whole thing. And being able to do that and see, there's several like quotes that come to mind thinking about him, but he'd always tell me, apples and pears, Marah, apples and pears. The front feet need to look like apples, back feet need to look like pears. And then another one is daisy cutting for the Western pleasure horses. You want to keep their toes just flicking and they can just cut the daisies. So learning a bunch of different things like that and also applying it for over a year to really stick it in my head. So very, very knowledgeable man, and very grateful that I was able to work with him. Let's see. After I did that, I had finished up 2 years of college at that point, and COVID had, all the regulations had calmed down. So going off to school now made more sense because I wanted to do the equine studies program at the University of Findlay. You can't learn to ride a horse online. So had to do that in person. So I waited the 2 years.
What? Wait a minute. All these armchair like instructors out there on social media. Come on. Are you kidding me? You know, come on. I thought all those armchair riding instructors out there, right? So can you
only
tell
go
us
so
really
hard.
quick where Findlay is?
Yeah, Findlay is in Ohio.
That's fine. I
There's
just know what
there's
state they're
Bowling
in.
Greens. There's
Mhm.
Bowling Greens, which is like 20 minutes directly north of it, and then like Toledo's northeast of it, and then Dayton is directly south of it. Those are all the big cities around it. Anyone back home, like northern Michigan, I just tell them you drive past the big sugar towers on your way to Florida. Most everyone goes, oh yeah, we know where that is. So I got connected with Findlay, or it was on my radar because my grandma actually graduated there 50 years before I started, and I got one of her alum magazines and saw the program, and I was like, there's a program to like go to school for horses and like learn all this. This is awesome. And it's not just a club, it's like an actual major, actual degree. So decided to go to Findlay, went there 3 years ago, and I double majored for business administration, which with a management emphasis, and then the English Equestrian Studies. I did the business because it's the horse world, things can happen, and if something were to happen, I have something I can fall back on. I also have a degree that helps me to manage and run a barn, and I have found working for many people that, or just seeing people out in the industry, that there's a large chunk that have a business, but it's not run like a business. And so I wanted to make sure that I had that solid ground to start off on. That's my grandma that just commented. Sorry.
No, hey, Grandma. Thanks for watching, Grandma. We love you. And don't forget to subscribe, Grandma. But I wanted to interrupt you. Can you maybe explain and what you saw on why the horse industry or horse trainers don't run their business like a business? Because to me, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you start a business and not run it like a business? So kind of give us your perspective on that.
Yeah, so I guess I should elaborate on this too. I worked at A-rated shows for the hunter jumpers mostly. I went to a couple of dressage shows with my old trainer, Susie White, but I worked for several different trainers at Traverse City horse shows. We went down to WEC, all those things. And I worked for a variety of trainers, and I worked for one trainer who she runs it like a business, and she runs it really well. And Sarah Robertson from Ascend Equestrian does a great job. And I saw the difference between her farm and other farms that I'd worked for, that she made sure that everything was kept track of. There was so many whiteboards, super religious about making sure that everything was tracked, everything was taken care of, and also that the horses were getting everything that they needed. But even just looking at an inventory of things that were done for that day, I worked for trainers that had no idea what was happening and losing out on money that way because they just give up resources and not have any way to keep track of, are they running out of those resources? Are they giving it to clients that actually need it? Are the clients paying back what is being used? And so losing money that way, and also just looking at it, seeing that trainers want to be trainers and they want to take their clients and their horses to the show and kind of make it happen no matter what, without any thought of how to actually make it feasible for them, and seeing the amount of burnout that's happened in the industry. And I think to a point, burnout is going to be common because you need to work super hard to get where you are. And yeah, there's going to be long nights, there's going to be long days, and there's going to be times where you're barely going to make it financially. And that's okay as long as you're working towards a goal of financial stability and making it run smoothly as you can with horses, because, they decide to choke randomly.
behave. They're so good. So, do you think going to Findlay, getting your business degree, did it help you? Did you learn something from it? Like maybe expand on that as well. Like, would you recommend that to someone just coming out of high school versus the working student position, right? You know, and then just become a trainer. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
I think Findlay was great for me. I really think that it pushed me in the ways that I needed to be pushed. I had been working in the equine industry throughout high school with apprenticeships from multiple different people working at the horse shows over the summers. I don't remember the last time that I had a summer that I wasn't working. And I think that started way back in middle school. But doing all those things before going to Findlay was so helpful for me because I had the work ethic and I was totally comfortable with the work and with the hours. Findlay has the program set up that each class goes in for during certain times of the day. And it's an everyday thing, 5 days a week. And you need to be out there at least one day on the weekend. You're cleaning stalls. You are making sure that your horse is taken care of, whether that means they need to go see the vet, you're holding them for the farrier. Oh, they're not eating their food. You need to go tell barn management. There's 150 horses. So you have to be super on top of making sure that your horse is getting everything that they need, making sure that they get their turnout. Oh, now you got to ride, getting there to your lessons on time, working with the trainers, all of those things. I learned a lot about barn management through them, what goes into taking care of the horse on a larger scale, because I saw the overall with all the horses, 150 horses, and also my riding changed a lot while I was there. I had not done competitive hunters or jumpers or anything like that. I'd done schooling shows, but I hadn't been in any sort of environment that was like that before. And learning that part of the industry as a rider, because I had seen it as a groom and as a barn manager and stuff, but learning it as a rider was really helpful for me as well. It's like, oh, this is why we ice our horses now and poultice, and this is the kind of work that they need for the day. This is conditioning, this is balance, this is making sure that they are strong and well prepared for their work. So I'm very grateful for everything that the trainers and managers taught me there. It was really good. And then the business portion of it, completely different instructors. So it was always amusing showing up to class covered in horse sweat and my riding clothes still, hard helmet line. But showing up to class and working on the business portion and thinking in my head of, okay, how does this apply? And I really enjoyed my business classes. They were really challenging for me. I was able to be a part of the Dana Scholars. There's the Dana Corporation, and they sponsor these throughout a couple of different colleges. And you have to go through a whole process, application process. And there's only 10 students that are selected, but you go to a different business each week for 3 hours. And they talk to you about their business structure, mission and values, how they got there. Everybody told us, don't worry about your next 5 years because I started as a nurse and now I'm a banker. So just seeing those things, working with different business leaders was really helpful. We got to go to some cool places. We went to Marathon. Their headquarters is in Findlay. So we got to go there, which was amazing. Garner Trucking, they do shipping all over. Their headquarters is also there. So a lot of cool businesses, large scale, small scale, banks, all those things. It was really good.
I'm so curious. I know Megan's giving me the look. It's who can get to the unmute button faster. So I'm really curious. I was really drawn to like you're describing like all the farrier training. Like, so how much of that have you fallen back on in like being in barn management and working with your farm's farrier and, you know, just the daily turn in, turn out, keeping an eye on horses, and what are the things that you've noticed and like how have you applied that? Because I think that's really valuable to have, you know, the schooling and then you apprenticed. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, so my farrier, when I first started getting interested in it, I always held for our farrier because I was the only person he could handle having hold horses because I paid attention. And if the horse didn't like stand still, I was able to correct it, but not knock him over type thing. So I would always talk with him, and my horse that I had at the time was a big old thoroughbred. His feet were a little bit of a mess when I got him, so it was a little bit of a process to get them back to where they needed to be. And then learning, oh, thoroughbreds have really flat feet. What does this mean when I take him off property and all those things? And so I got more interested in that. And so going off to school, did all of that. But even after the apprenticeship, I found it really useful because I still had my horse at the time. I was able to trim up my own horse, and he had gotten EPM and went through the treatment, and whatever the treatment did to his system, his feet like fell apart. So it was this very long process and very exaggerated process of learning about feet care. But being able to take care of my own horse that way, and then call up my farrier if I had questions, but be able to have a more educated conversation with him about what was going on, really helpful. And then I've had friends that we've been at a show or we've been somewhere else and a shoe came off, or it only partially came off, or they got a chip in their horse's hoof. I was able to go take care of it super quick, help them that way. At school, we'd have shoes get pulled multiple times. I'd be home like 5 minutes from the Findlay barn, and I'd get a call from our barn manager to see if I could show up early and come pull a shoe. But working with farriers at barns, it's been helpful to, again, just have that conversation, think through different things that could get done. I had a horse at school that chronically pulled shoes and couldn't be on stall rest. He had an injury, but he mentally would just go crazy. So he couldn't be on stall rest, but would chronically pull shoes. And so I was able to talk to the farrier and be like, hey, like, what's a different option? Because he needs shoes, but he's ruining his feet. What about this? No. Okay, what about this? And then we were able to figure out a solution that helped the horse and kept his shoes on.
Did you guys ever study? I don't mean to derail this in a farrier conversation, but I follow, you know, some interesting farriers on like social media, and I mean, it's the alternative to what I'll call standard shoeing, which is the nail-on shoes. There's really been some interesting advances in like glue-ons and, you know, using fiberglass to like rebuild. Let's say a horse blows out a quarter or, you know, has white line disease, they have to resect all that. Did you get into that at all in your studies or at all while you were apprenticing? Because I think it's pretty impressive. It's quite helpful, obviously. You know, you talked about thoroughbreds with bad feet and lots of that going around, right? So I'm just curious.
Yeah, so in farrier school, we had two horses that I vividly remember. One of them had chronic quarter cracks. And so we used this poly-based patch, basically, that we would put on. We saran wrapped his foot. We had to harden it and stuff, which I think is more common. But that was the first time I'd seen any of that. My farrier back home was a little bit more on the natural side. And so wouldn't touch any of the periopal on the hoof, only the very bottom, which I still think is very sound. I sometimes laugh when horses have quarter cracks. It's like, well, leave the top layer and it might not. But in school, I had to do a paper. I had to do a research paper. And of course, being a horse girl, I did it horse related. But I looked into the 3D printing shoes that have been looked at, I think, since about 2020, maybe 2015, sometime within that range. And there's an Australian group that has done research on 3D printing horseshoes, specifically looking at the race horses and seeing what kind of material they could make that would be sustainable for at least a race. But they are glue-on. They don't compromise the hoof at all, but also really looking at, you'd be able to scan the horse's foot and all the whatever impurities from it, shapes of it would get scanned, and they can make a shoe that exactly fits their foot after the horse has been trimmed up and all of that, but it would exactly fit the foot. Because I'm sure everyone's had it, the shoe pinches a little bit, oh, the shoe's a little too wide, so it gets pulled, the nail gets pinched, all those things. But this would be able to make it so that it would fit correctly, like perfectly. And it was really beneficial in horses that were on stall rest that had leg issues, not even hoof issues, just leg issues. And they were able to make the shoe fit the hoof and also help correct whatever was going on. I think it's still like in the works of seeing how it actually works. It's not come to any sports competitions, but I think that at some point it will show up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. So tell us about like a little bit more about, you went to school for two things, obviously, and they meant to complement each other. So Megan's asked a few questions on this, and we really have been talking a lot over the last year on Barn Besties about, and we touched on it earlier, a lot of trainers or farm owners don't come into it with a full-on business sense. So I think that's something we really want to keep talking about. Like, what are the main things that you see that you're able to identify, come into the farm and be like, hey, we need to improve this to get us back on more of a business track?
Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of trainers where it's fully focused on getting rides in and getting the horse to competition. There's not been a lot of focus on the care of the horse, the care of staff, the care of the barn, the care of clients, keeping a clean schedule, inventory, making sure that everything is running smoothly. Again, not the first time, but one of the bigger times that I saw it was working for Sarah Robertson as an equestrian, and the level of care that was required, standard of care, and how she cared for everybody else and still kept it running as a business really opened my eyes to how it lacks in the industry. Just focusing on, you can't have a horse if the horse isn't cared for. And you can't care for the horse if you don't have the staff and the equipment and the facility to do so. And so from like top to bottom, making sure that you have qualified staff that knows what they're doing, they're educated, they're able to perform the duties that need to be performed, making sure you have all the supplies, making sure that you've got the correct feed and nutrition for your horse, making sure that everything is efficient and effective. So I strive at seeing inefficiencies and changing things to become more efficient. It's like a little puzzle in my head that I play, that how few steps can I take, like literal walking steps, to get PM chores done. I play that game every day at the barn, and I've figured out how to get everything done in a very efficient and effective manner, which makes my time more valuable because then I'm able to go work on other things, making sure that the barn's clean, making sure that, like, we had a horse's stall that a screw was coming out, and just like seeing those things. And on my way to get feed, I'm going to grab the screwdriver and go fix that really quick. Just doing those sorts of things. But making sure that as the owner and the head of the barn, that you're able to have an overview of things, have staff to support you, and be able to keep track of it. I know Jackie talked a lot about she's got an accountant, and having someone like that can do those things for you. I went through accounting, and all I learned is that I'm going to need an accountant. I learned more things, but I definitely went through that and finished it and was like, I'm going to need an accountant. But making sure you have somebody like that in areas that you're not as strong in.
Those are great, valid points. Now, you are an assistant trainer as well as barn manager. Do you get an opportunity to look at the books, or is that not in your realm? Because I know a lot of times people hold that close. But I think that's a huge part of what people don't understand is also, like, I look at my books weekly, and I also look quarterly. Like, I have an accountant that looks at my books quarterly and looking for where can we cut expenses, also thinking about the future. Do you have a retirement? How are you going to make leasehold improvements on your barn? Like, are you also a part? Because, like, what you said is so important. And then sometimes I sit back and I'm like, oh my God, how can I do all these things? I'm literally one person. And having a team that you trust, I mean, because the numbers are big, but I do think now we need to start being more open about that, because I don't think boarders, students, clients know what they're really getting, right? Which is a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't work with that portion of it. I get some feedback, like, I don't even know if it's really feedback, but like making sure that we have the correct amount of grain, that we're not overstocking on that we have one horse that's on chopped hay, making sure that they've got their chopped hay, making sure that we have enough normal hay bales for our horses. I'm very involved in that area of it, and I'm very aware that we're literally feeding these horses money. So making sure that we don't waste a bunch of hay, making sure that everything's clean, because if things aren't clean, we're wasting money. If the hay area doesn't get cleaned up every time the hay goes down, then we're wasting money because it's building up, it's getting dusty and dirty.
And do you shop around? Do you know, like, I know I have like 4 farmers I work with, grain, thinking about those expenses. Do you guys, also having the time to just sit in the office and shop around? I mean, for me as a trainer, I'm like, oh my God, what a waste of time. I want to be on my next horse, get to the next competition, blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, that saves us so much money.
Yeah. I know that Jackie's had like the same hay people for years, and they've done an amazing job. I just met them for the first time like 2 weeks ago. They're amazing. So in that sense, no. But in other areas, back to our horse with chopped hay, we've been changing it around a little bit, trying to figure out. We found something that worked, but the store doesn't stock it. And so it's like, well, if it shows up, great. But if it doesn't, we need to have a different option. So we've been playing around with different options, which pros and cons to that. You can run into issues of, am I just spending all this money to try to figure this out? Is this worth it? And so you do have to have that conversation as well of, is it worth it? But here we also, really random one, but we use tea tree oil and water for fly spray, which I think is amazing because you can get a bottle of tea tree oil, dilute that, and you make so much fly spray. 1, it saves money, but 2, it's also really healthy for you and the horses. But figuring out options like that as well can save a lot of money.
I used to make a lot of my own natural fly sprays too. What do you use to cut? Because obviously oils and waters don't mix, you know. So how did you kind of make your, is it just straight tea tree oil? Do you add anything else into it? Because I had a interesting couple of other essential oils I used.
We just use tea tree oil. I don't remember the brand. It's a big bottle of tea tree oil and water, and then we just shake it up really good before we use it.
It's antifungal too, which is another excellent property too, you know, with horses with scratches and rain rot problems and, you know, that kind of gunk problems, but that's really cool. Yeah, I managed a farm. I have owned a farm for a number of years, but before that was a barn manager. And, you know, just listening to you talk brought back like so many memories and so many thoughts of like working with trainers and, you know what I mean? Like having that conversation with, you know, we had a farm owner, we had me as the farm manager, the trainers were in there. There was multiple trainers, there were boarders. So it's a lot of like high communication. And then, like you said, are we ordering too much of this feed? Are we running out of this feed? You know, and it's never the same from 1 month to the next. Inevitably a trainer is like, well, this horse needs to change feed and this, you know, so it's always a moving target. Were you in charge of scheduling the vet on a regular basis, scheduling the farrier and all that as well? Do you kind of take that under your wing?
Eventually, yes. I've been here for 2.5 months and slowly been adding on more and more different responsibilities. We've also had a lot of camps and several clinics and stuff. So it's been a crazy summer. We're starting to get where it's like, okay, we're going to focus on these things right now, which has been really nice. But like yesterday, I noticed that 3 of the horses needed a trim and a shod. And so I text our staff group at the end of every day, at the end of every shift, and we text any updates that we have, any changes. We have several whiteboards. So in the feed room, we've got the whiteboard with all the horses' feed and nutrition and stuff, but then we'll note on their stall whiteboard any medications or if they get a certain type of hay, those sort of things, so that it's all around and that everyone knows what's going on. But yeah, today we had a horse choke, so was able to call Jackie up, and then within 5 minutes we had the vet telling us what needed to get done, and then he showed up about 30 minutes later and horse is totally fine. But being able to work really close with all of that, we have a horse that's on stall rest right now, and our vet is amazing. He's the best. But he texts all of us an update of what needs to get done. So there's a lot of text groups that I'm a part of, but it makes it really easy to keep track of what needs to get done. Everyone knows what's getting done because we don't run it where staff is all there at one time. I live on site, so I see all the staff at least once or twice a week, but we usually only have one person for each shift. So texting is a really nice and easy way to keep everyone on the same page.
Now, I want everyone to read my mind. I'll be honest. I don't like to talk in the morning. I like to work, and I want everyone to just read my mind. But at least I'm honest. But do you guys have like weekly meetings, a daily meeting? I know you said not all the staff is there at the same time, but like, do you guys try to communicate in person? I find I've had multiple people work for me, and we do text during the day, like what's going on, because, you know, running a barn, there's all the moving pieces. But I find with communication, it is way better when someone sees my face, because I had no idea like how you write okay with a period and an exclamation point and all this other jazz. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I have no time for this bullshit. Like, so it is way better because I have a lot of Gen Zs and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't have time for that. I just want you to read my mind and do the job. So, do you find that you have to communicate in person, like with your people?
Well, on the Gen Z talk, I'm the youngest one. So I make sure to use like tons of exclamation points to be like really positive. I keep the emojis out of the staff group chat, but so for overall, everyone needs to know everything. We use the group chat because it's super easy to go back and be like, oh, hey, something was mentioned yesterday. Oh, here it is all written out for me. Great. I make a point to try to say hi to everybody at least once a week, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but I don't cross paths with many of the staff, just working shifts, because AM shift usually gets done around like 9:30, and then I start at 10:30 and then go through PM. So I don't usually cross with the AM shift. And then I have my 2 days off, which again, I live on property, so I have to go down to the barn anyways to get in my car. So I make a point to at least go in and say hi to whoever. And if I know something happened with the horse, either that morning or the previous night, be like, hey, how's it going? Like, did Pango keep his muzzle on? But just checking in with everybody like that as well. And Jackie's also amazing. She does the same thing and make sure that everyone's doing good. So it is like when I worked at the horse shows, it was nice to end the day and we all would meet up and talk through whatever. But that was more because we're working 15-hour days, 10 to 15-hour days most of the time, all week. And so we're all exhausted, and just sitting down and making sure we get it all hashed out and go to bed, it worked out great for that. Texting in the big group chat would not have, and like we do here, but with how the farm is run, it works out really good. Some places doesn't work, some places it does.
Ooh, I got you. I beat you, Megan. So you just said something that kind of triggered me. 10, 9, 10, 15-hour days. Do you think that that's reasonable to be asking of farm staff? And how many days a week are you working? Is it 5 days working 15-hour days? Like where, Megan and I are talking about like the industry overall, and it doesn't matter what discipline. This is a tough business. It's hard to make a dollar. It's hard to not, to be in the black and not in the red. And, we had a really great live stream with a hunter jumper trainer in Georgia and a lot of other trainers, where they're working 6-7 days a week for 15 hours a day and, kind of barely keeping it above water. And I mean, I think it's got to change in the industry, but what's your expectation? What do you think going into a barn manager or farm manager position? How many days a week are you thinking you need to be working, and how many hours a day do you anticipate that you will be working?
So I started working the shows when I was 16. I had no idea what I was doing. Like as a groom, I literally showed up and they're like, go clean bridles. We don't know what to do with you. Which was fine. But I would typically work 15-hour days, 6 days a week. And I thought that was fairly normal. I did the Great Lakes Equestrian Circuit, which meant an 8-week series that trainer had horses there the entire time. I was 16, so I could do it just fine. Didn't have any problems with that. And then the last 2 summers when I worked at the horse shows, I knew much better what I was getting into and still would work like 10, 15-hour days. I also did it as a internship for college. and they were very concerned that I wouldn't hit my 480 hours within a summer. And I was like, oh, I hit 80 hours a week. We're fine. But I knew what I was getting into. That is the expectation. I got paid really well. I had my food covered. I had my housing covered. I had my gas covered. The clients were lovely. The horses were safe. They were great. And I also got tipped on top of getting paid. I had those expectations as a groom going in, that those were the things I needed to have covered for me to make it worth my while, my health, and everything else to go and do that. I also really enjoyed it, and I love doing it. You have to be crazy and also love doing this to do it. You can't do this and not love it. So if you have appropriate compensation for working those hours and it is a safe environment, you're not getting harassed, you're not working with super unsafe horses that aren't getting trained at all, and you decide to do it, then yeah, go do it. But if you are dealing with harassment or it's super unsafe, you're getting hurt all the time, those sorts of things, and you're getting no pay, you're stuck in this situation, no, you should not do that and you should leave. Working, and that was the summer. I could not do that full time. I knew I could do it for the summer, and I knew I could do 2 weeks really solid back to back, 3 weeks. The last 3 days were a little rough mentally, but I knew I could do it for that short amount of time. Working full time, I did a lot of job searching starting in like October, because every job that gets posted on Facebook is I need you right now. And so I wanted to see like what there was, what people were offering, but I didn't start applying until about February to jobs. But looking for time off, like just your week, how long your week is, was really important for me. And also making sure that either the pay was like really good or it was still good pay, but also with housing. Because if you're getting paid just enough to cover gas and food, like it's still not a livelihood. And if you're doing this outside of summer work, outside of just working student, it needs to be a livelihood. So I definitely think that the industry needs to change. During my time grooming, joined a Facebook group called the Groomers Insider or Insider of Grooming, something like that. And so people will like throw out there all the time, like, hey, is this like okay? Should I still be working for this person? Is this safe? All these things. And it comes up quite a bit, which means that it needs to change. And I think with like the safe sport and those sorts of things, it has been changing, I think a little slowly, but it is changing. It's starting to.
Now, this is a personal question. Do you have a significant other?
Yes, I do. I got married in May.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I actually have a reason. Don't need to know personal information or anything like that, but it's more just like I got married very young. I was 22, and I would say my 15-hour days contributed to my divorce, right? So I think like if you have and then I was single, and it was great. Like all I did was work. Like there was no one I had to balance my time with. I could just work those 15-hour days. And for me, that worked really well, that on balance. So I think when you're young, make sure like when you're getting into a relationship, like you make time for your person, because your person isn't going to be there. If you don't water the plants, they don't grow. You got to give them attention. Wouldn't you say? So how can you give us some advice on how you're balancing and giving time to your significant other?
So looking at the job, when I started job hunting, I had it really nice setup. I was in college, graduating, got married a week after I graduated, and then about 3 weeks later, we moved from Michigan to Virginia, and I started a job. What was really nice about that is that, yes, I've been in the industry. I was still in the industry, but I wasn't already somewhere and trying to like fit him in. So having gotten married and then gone off to a job was really nice because I knew what to expect a little bit more. And that was part of the reason why I was really looking at, okay, am I getting appropriate time off? Are these hours manageable? On average, I work like 45 hours a week. And some of those hours are spent working on the social media aspect, the Palm Equestrian Digest, which I can talk about later. But when I was working at the horse shows while we were still dating, he did contract work and also had crazy hours, especially in the summer. And so even though I was gone and also working crazy hours, it worked out for us. I also would show up exhausted to dates because I knew it was super important to spend that time with him. And I was covered in dirt and horse crap and exhausted. And he is amazing and super supportive and would set up drive-in movie theaters in the back of his truck bed. He would set up the truck bed and like he made this whole like platform mat thing and then would set up his TV and even like a little grill and would grill pierogies for us. And we would watch movies there. And so we could drive wherever. He could drive us close to like the horse show. We could watch the movie or whatever. And then he'd like take me back. So we figured it out on what worked for us. And then having come down to peace of mind, he has started his job, and his job is a little bit flexible hour-wise. Like if he goes in earlier, he can leave earlier type thing. And so on like my days off are different than his days off. And so he will go in early and then he'll try to get out earlier so that we can go do a date night, go do something fun like that. We also knew that it was super important for us to find a rhythm for our life. We didn't live together beforehand, and so it's all been very new for us. And just figuring out rhythm for us as a newly married couple, rhythm for us being in a completely different state that wasn't at all attached to Michigan, and also different culture and environment than what we're used to. We're from Northern Michigan, so date nights were two-tracking and bonfires, and that's not this around here. So figuring out, okay, well, what does date night look like now? So we've had fun playing around with that, and honestly, I'd say the hardest thing so far has been trying to find community outside of work. So we've been trying to find a church to get connected into, but I don't have weekends off. So it's like, okay, well, what is Thursday or Wednesday nights? And finding a group that we can connect with and also be like, hey, you want to hang out after? Stuff like that. I'm introverted, so that is very hard for me. But also having somebody who is super supportive and knows what you're passionate about and knows how to support you it's the only reason that it works. I told him when he told me he liked me, I told him two things. I was like, I'm finishing college and I'm moving right after college. So if that doesn't work, this isn't going to work. And college is 5 hours away from back home. So if long distance doesn't work, this isn't going to work. His response was, I'm ready to move. Yes, you need to finish college. And 5 hours is nothing. So here we are.
That is wonderful. But I think you also touched on something super valuable to anyone who's watching that's a young professional, is make friends outside of the horse world. I did not. And as much as I love my clients, they're like, some of them have become family, but at the end of the day, some of those family can really hurt you when they leave. So I think it's really healthy to have people that don't know about horse. Also, AB said something that was really interesting to me that I didn't ever notice, and that was horse people can't talk about anything but horses. And like, come on, people. We talk about like cross training and all around training. Like, get out of the horse barn. Like, because it's just healthy. So keep doing what you're doing, girlfriend.
Thank you. Yeah. I also want to talk about the book club that I'm starting with Peace of Mind. I think it was like our second night having moved down here. I arrived like a couple days before I started work to like get settled in, move in. Again, my husband and I had just gotten married, so we had to also figure out what all goes together and how each of us decide to organize things, which is a different puzzle in itself. But I think it was like the second night, Jackie invited us up to dinner with her and her family. And she was like, oh, by the way, I want you to start a book club. I was like, oh, okay. I love reading. I'm an avid reader. I only brought down 135 books with me. The other like 500 are in storage currently. But she was like, you're going to do this. I was like, okay. And she had also mentioned during the interview process, oh, do you do social media? I was like, oh yeah, I've taken a class, I post, whatever. This is a whole different level. I'm learning Canva, which is a whole different language for me. So it's been really fun. But I am starting this group called Palm Equestrian Digest, and it is for readers, thinkers, and riders who want to examine the equestrian culture and ethics behind it. We're looking at Warwick Schiller's book, The Principles of Training. That's our first book. And we're really focusing on the horsemanship aspect of it and how to ethically train our horses and learn to communicate and especially to listen to our horses. I just put out the sign up this afternoon. So if anyone wants to go out, it's on Facebook and Instagram, POM, P-O-M, Equestrian Digest. And the sign up is out there. We will also have a virtual option and an in-person meeting option. So if you're a long distance or not in Virginia, not a problem. Anyone can join us. But we'll be going through a couple of different books. It's spread out where it's every other week, and we'll have 8 meetings. The goal is that anyone can do it, but looking at like parents and trainers that want to do this but don't have a lot of time, I'm trying to keep the pages down to like 20 pages for 2 weeks and making it as simple as possible for anyone who's super busy, got a really tight schedule, to be able to do this and join us as we go through this. We also are coupling it with a ground handling class, because why learn horsemanship if you're not going to apply it? We've already started that. It's every Sunday at 11 a.m. at the Peace of Mind Dressage Farm. But we are going to be going through the books, going to be coupling it with the ground handling, lots of discussion, and I'm super excited for this. It's going to be so much fun. I love horses. I love reading, so it's great. And Jackie's been super supportive and pushing me and challenging me with it, so it'll be really cool.
That's cool. So again, it's POM, Equestrian Digest, and it's on, you said, Facebook and Instagram?
Correct.
Okay.
You can also go to like the Peace of Mind Dressage Facebook page, my Facebook page, or Instagram. It's on both of those platforms as well.
Okay. I'll probably get a link stuck down in the description. We'll probably link people to the Peace of Mind website. You said there's a link there. Yeah, we'll do that so that that'll be available at any time anybody watches this, because you can rewatch the live stream at any point. So Yeah. Megan, you got any other questions? We've had her on now for, well, we're coming right on an hour here. So don't want to take up all her night, especially if she's a newlywed. Got to have some time for the husband.
Oh, I have so many questions. How did you ever wonder if you should do something else? Like, how did you know this was the profession for you?
So I'm fairly type A. As a little girl, I wanted to have a farm. I wanted to be a farmer. I wanted to have all the animals. At some point, I'd drawn out like a farm plan and had like 20 different animals all in one barn. The barn would have been ginormous. So started out as a farmer, and then as I got older, like around 8, I was like, oh, but I really like horses. And so that's when my mom found somebody that I was able to go work with their horses, work with them and stuff. And then I was like, oh, well, I like the care of the horses. I want to be a vet. And then that carried through most of high school. And then I went and toured Findlay for their vet program, actually, for their pre-vet program. And went through that super cool program, really strong program. But I was going through it and I was like, you know what? I like science. I don't like science this much. And also, I've talked to enough vets at that point that they don't typically have enough time for their own horses. And so, because they're spending so much time taking care of everybody else's. And so at that point, I was like, well, I don't really like that aspect of it. I still like the care of the horses. So it's finally like drawn me into this barn manager, assistant trainer. I'm sure Jackie will laugh at this, but I don't overly enjoy showing. I loved working at the rated shows, but that level of competition for me doesn't have as much of a draw. Jackie got me to a show a couple weeks ago, and I had told her, I was like, I don't like showing. And I come out of the dressage arena and she's like, you smiled the whole time. I don't like showing, whatever. So that part wasn't a huge draw, but the care of the horse has always been there. So I'd done my other jobs. I worked as a packager in a bakery shop, purely to have gas money to get out to the barn. I have done assistant work at my mom's office, where I did a lot of like QuickBooks, Excel, those sorts of things. And the problem I ran into there was that I'd get assignments and I'd have them done in like an hour, and it didn't hold a lot of mental challenge for me. And so sitting down, working on those sorts of things, I realized I would get so bored and would not feel fulfilled at all. So working on my feet and doing this for a living has been a huge passion and definitely fulfills me. And I love working here at Peace of Mind. Like, it's going to sound cheesy, but I go to work and I'm smiling and I'm super content and really happy with what I do. I feel that it's super fulfilling. The standard of care here is really high for the horses, and I'm treated well. The other staff's treated well. The clients here are all great. I feel comfortable like chatting with the clients and getting to say hi and how's it going and all that stuff. And lessons are good. We have a really strong program. Start strong, ride far. That's the saying, and it starts with our kids that we've got riding out here, and also our adult riders and stuff, and being able to change how you teach for the adult riders and how you teach for the kids. It's fun. It keeps me on my toes and all that. So
She keeps throwing it back to me. I'm trying to think. Like, there's so many different questions we could ask, but so this is, I kind of sound like I'm interviewing you for a job, just, and I don't mean to sound like that, but I do have that history. Where do you see yourself in 5 years and in 10 years in this equestrian business? What do you see yourself doing? What's your goal? Like, where do you want to go with this?
So I had mentioned before, I grew up in a single mom home, and my mom took what was happening, and she listened to the calling that was placed on her heart to start a ministry for single moms. And it has grown from a living room gathering of other single moms to nationally now. And it's called Single Mom with 2 N's at the end. And it's got curriculum, it's got programs for the moms, and it's focused on helping the mom get strong and healthy so that she can help her kids. And I grew up around the strongest women I have ever met. A group of 30 of them actually just went to Pikes Peak out in Colorado like 2 days ago and just climbed Pikes Peak. And I started crying when I got the email of all the different testimonies that came up from that. But that's what I grew up with, was all of these women who have gone through horrific abuse and trauma and have walked through that. And the thing that stuck with me for years is steps. Everybody has a path, and you just have to take a step. Some days it might be a bigger step, some days it might be a smaller step, but it's a step forward. And so what my dream is, my husband calls it my dream, is I want to provide a facility for young women who have been through abuse and trauma, and they are along the path of healing and they need a stop. The stop would be a farm, an equine farm, that they would be able to come in. They would be able to work with a specific horse, because the horses provide such a therapeutic connection. The girls that I grew up with, we all joked that we'd be in horrible situations if we didn't have the horses. We'd be crazy. But being able to provide that for young women to have a stop along their healing path, that they can connect with the horses, that they can build the skills that you lose having to go into a survival mindset. Your body shuts down and it just survives, and you lose skills that you might have had or you never acquired in life. And so being able to help provide those skills for young women and provide that safe space along the healing path for them, that is my end goal. So whether that is in 10, 20, 30 years, I don't know. But working for Jackie is helping show me that there is a high level of care, and also how to run a business well that's an equine business. Because it's really hard to do it well and to make the money that you need for this, and she does it well. It was one of the questions I asked her when we were interviewing was just how she runs the business, and that's really important to me. So that's what I'm focused on right now, is learning how to run this business and just how it all gets done. So we'll see where it takes me later on.
I think that's great. And maybe that's a great stopping point for us. I think that's awesome. And it's inspirational for sure. What do you say, Miss Megan?
I think it's beautiful. I think go for it. Follow your dreams and be of service to people. I mean, what greater gift can you have? Yeah. I hope we can help you along that way. People who is ever listening out there, finds interest in that. So I think it's a really beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Should we quick plug your mom's group? Like how would, you said it's national, how would people find it?
Yeah, so if you look up single mom, MOMM.org, anyone can donate or help sponsor or anything like that. And then if you are a single mom, there are resources on there and people that you can connect with. So if you just go to the website, whether you want to be a donor or you're a single mom, anything that you need will be on the website there. And they're a great staff. Again, amazing women. They're the strongest women that I know.
Well, that's awesome, because it's important in this, still in this day and age, for women to support other women and keep each other uplifted. We're still, being beaten down in areas of the world, and we're still hitting the glass ceiling, and there's still abuse, as you mentioned, and all those things. So it's important to have a support system. So that's great. So I put that on the screen. We'll flash it again there. Is it right? Single mom? Did I do it right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's in there as well, if people want to check that out. We appreciate your time so much. This has been so interesting. I probably have a million more questions I could ask, but we'd be on here all night. So we're going to be mindful of everyone's time tonight and try to give you a reasonable stopping time. We appreciate it. It's been a little over an hour now. We usually don't stick to an hour. We always go over, don't we, Megan?
What? We're always on time. I don't know what you're talking about, but Marah,
right.
thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We look forward to watching your story, and if there's any way we can help you, and let's all stick together and grow.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, it's always so much fun. We love it. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to say goodbye to everybody online. Thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. Check out those websites. We'll get it in the description as well. But everybody have a good night, right? We'll see you on the next. We have a new live stream coming up on Thursday. So we'll see everybody then. Right, Megan?
Yep. Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.